Hi, I am Subhajit Halder, second year medical student. Today I am going to show the physical examination of the vascular system, and in there I'll show some procedure. First I'll show the evaluation of jugular venous pulsation, then carotid artery pulsation and the carotid artery bruit, and then I'll auscultate over the precordial area, then identifying the S1, S2 and S3, S4, and also the identifying of abnormal heart sound, that is due to aortic regurgitation and microstenosis. So let's proceed. Hi, I'm Shubhajit Halder. May I know your name and age?
My name is Divyesh. My age is 23.
Okay, so do you have any recent chest discomfort or difficulty in breathing?
Nothing.
Okay, so just you came for here for
Just for physical examination.
Okay, so we will proceed with your physical examination.
Okay.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay, so first may I check your finger, please? Now I'm looking for the peripheral cyanosis. The okay, can you do like this? Okay, just check your finger. Now I'm checking for the periorbital edema. None are present here. So I was looking for the peripheral cyanosis due to aortic insufficiency, or also for the periorbital edema due to pulmonary hypertension. None are observed here. Now I will proceed with the inspection of the chest area. So can you remove your t-shirt, please? So now I'll do the general inspection over the chest area for is there any abnormal breathing or any discomfort or any level of anxiety. So can you do normally breathe in or breathe out? Okay.
Now we'll measure the blood pressure and heart rate. Is examine the patient in a quite comfortable room where distraction and noise are at minimum. It will help us having a general overview over the cardiovascular system. So for the estimating of the jugular venous pressure, the jugular venous pulsation closely parallels pressure in the right atrium or central venous pressure, related primarily to volume in the venous system. The jugular venous pulsation is best assessed from the pulsation in the right internal jugular vein, which is directly in line with the superior vena cava and right atrium. It lies deep to the sternocleidomastoid muscle in the neck, but it's not directly visible. So we have to identify the pulsation of the internal jugular vein that are transmitted to the surface of the neck. The oscillation point or meniscus of the jugular venous pulsation is usually found in the lower half of the neck. The jugular venous pressure accurately predicts the fluid volume in the heart.
Now I'll proceed with the jugular venous pulsation and pressure. So for that, it is usually taken from the right internal jugular vein, and it is deep to the sternocleidomastoid muscle. And for the jugular venous pulsation, it can be taken in three different angle of position, but it is usually taken at the elevation, the head of the bed at 30 degree. Now we'll proceed with the jugular venous pulsation and pressure. For that, it is usually taken from the right internal jugular vein, and first I'll inspect the jugular venous, the highest oscillation point of the jugular venous pulsation. So can you move your head on the left side? Okay. So first we'll find the jugular venous pulsation. Okay, I got it. It is nearly here. For the for examining the jugular venous pulsation and pressure, we will use a rectangular card and a centimeter scale. So I will put this card at the highest oscillation point of the jugular venous pulsation, and I'll place it horizontally upon the centimeter scale, and I'll place the centimeter scale vertically on the sternal angle. Then I'll measure the distance from the highest oscillation point to the sternal angle, and I'll measure the vertical point upon the centimeter scale. So let's proceed. Here I place a phone, sternal angle, and okay, got it. So we got the reading that is 2.4 centimeter above the sternal angle, and it is normal, less than 3 centimeter from the sternal angle. Now we will add 5 centimeter from the measurement from the right atrium. So normally it will be less than 8 centimeter. So for the patient, it is the jugular venous pulsation is normal. The patient is euvolemic. Okay. Now I will assess the carotid pulse. It usually helps to detect the valvular heart disease, that is aortic stenosis or aortic insufficiency. So first I will palpate the carotid the carotid artery from the both side. The carotid artery usually present medial to the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Don't palpate both carotid artery at the same time because it will cut off the blood supply to the brain and it will induce syncope. So I use my the fingertips for assessing the carotid pulse. So now
Slowly increase the pressure until you feel a maximum pulsation. Then slowly decrease the pressure until you best sense the arterial pressure and contour. Then assess the amplitude of the pulse and contours of the pulse wave.
we first check the contour and amplitude of the carotid pulse. Now we will place the diaphragm of the stethoscope on the carotid artery on the both side and we'll check for the presence of carotid bruit. So I'll ask the patient to breathe in and hold for 15 seconds so there will be no turbulence during the respiration. So now proceed. Okay, so there is no presence of bruit on the carotid artery on the both sides. So now I will examine the heart over the precordium. We will do in the sequence: first inspection, then palpation, and then auscultation. First, I will check for the hips over the precordium. Okay, so there is no presence of hips. Now I will check for the thrills using the ball of my hand. Okay, none is seen here. Now I will assess the apical impulse. It is usually present in the fifth internal space. So I got the apical impulse here. It should be less than 2.5 centimeters. Now I will assess the right ventricular impulse, placing 3 fingers at the same time at the third, fourth, and fifth intercostal space on the left sternal border. So I will assess here. Third.
Also ask the patient to exhale and briefly stop breathing.
Now I'll start the auscultation in different locations over the precordium. First I'll start at the apex for the mitral area, then at the base for tricuspid area, then at the right second intercostal space for the aortic area, and the left second intercostal space for the pulmonic area. Now let's proceed.
Before auscultation over the precordium, we should know our stethoscope. The diaphragm of the stethoscope is better for picking up the relatively high pitch sound, that is S1, S2, and the murmur of the aortic and mitral regurgitation and pericardial friction rubs. The bell of the stethoscope is more sensitive to low pitch sound, that is S3 and S4, and the murmur of the mitral stenosis. First, at the apex for mitral area. Then at the lower lip sternal border for tricuspid area. Then at the second left interspace for pulmonic area. Then at the second right interspace for aortic area.
At the apex, S1 is greater than S2. S1 that is the first heart sound, and S2 is the second heart sound. And at the base, the S2 is greater than S1. Now I will auscultate for hearing the extra heart sound, that is S3 and S4, using the bell of the stethoscope, that is the low pitch sound over the same area. So let's proceed. Now I'll auscultate for any presence of abnormal heart sound. First I'll check for the mitral stenosis. I'll ask the patient to move towards left, that is the lateral decubitus position. So let's proceed. Can you put your hand below the neck and move to the left? Okay. Now I'm using the bell for assessing the mitral stenosis. Okay. So there is no presence of abnormal sound or the murmur at the apical area due to mitral stenosis. Now I'll check for the aortic regurgitation. I'll ask the patient to sit and lean forward, and I'll ask him to hold the breath. So let's proceed. Can you lean forward? Breathe in. Breathe out. Okay, hold. Okay, I'm using the diaphragm of the stethoscope. Okay. So there is no presence of abnormal heart sound or the murmur due to the aortic regurgitation. That's all for the physical examination of cardiovascular system. Thank you for listening.